Hi and hello, my name is Cass and welcome to my channel where I read a lot of books and I talk about them. July is approaching and with it the terrible hot weather that is so bad in the south. It's not the worst month for that, but we're getting there. But that means I'll be sticking inside as much as I can, and hopefully that means some more reading time. Around work, of course. We're opening a musical in the early weeks of July, so that means I'll be in tech, which means it'll be busy, but we'll see what happens. In any case, let's get into the 8 books I plan on reading this month. To start us off, we have The Ones We Burn by Rebecca Mix. This is a YA dark fantasy novel featuring witches, blood magic, and a sapphic relationship. Man, if I had thought about it when I put all this together last year, I would have put this in June, but oh well. It's never too late to read a good sapphic romance. This book is about Ranka. She is a witch who lives in a coven who took her in when she was very small. All she wants is to be left alone, but she is named the Broaden, which is a treaty bride, and her coven sends her to Isidol to kill the prince. However, Ranka realizes that the prince is kind and gentle and he literally doesn't even want to be king. His sister, she's another story. But a plague starts to kill witches, and Ranka and the princess have to work together to cure the plague, and in the process of that, Ranka starts to question everything that she was taught. Honestly, I fully didn't remember that this book was on my list. I have another similarly named book planned for August, so I got them mixed up. But once I read the description, I remembered why I really wanted to read it. I'm pretty excited about this. It has a lot of things that I really like blood witches, that's cool. Background sapphic romance, fantastic. I want to read more sapphic couples, so pretty excited. Next up, we've got another YA queer fantasy. I really didn't plan my books properly this year. I didn't write any queer books into my TBR for June, even though obviously I read some, but they all ended up in July. Anyway, so this book is Evergreen. It is the debut novel of Devin Greenlee, and this book is about Quinn. He is the only male dyad. Is it dyad or dryad? I think it's dyad. But he is the only male dyad known to himself or his family. He has no magic, but he has the supernatural features of the dyad, like the green eyes, the green hair. His mother has kept him contained at home in their beautiful and old garden, helping with the family flower business. However, of course, he wants to see the outside world. He ends up meeting his next door neighbor, whose name is Liam, who has never seen or even believed in the supernatural. Quinn discovers more of the outside world through him and starts to fall for him, but of course danger is afoot, because it has to be. If I remember right, I think I saw this in a video about queer books and I was instantly intrigued. So it seems like a cute romance with some interesting fantasy elements. Not as dark as The Ones We Burn, of course, but that will be a good shift, because I can't have too much darkness all at once. Eventually it gets sad. So next up we have To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This one is a YA retelling of The Little Mermaid. The female lead is named Lyra. She is a siren princess and essentially the most lethal of the sirens. She's killed 17 princes in her time. She accidentally kills a fellow siren, and as punishment, she is turned into a human by the queen, her mother, with the condition that she has to bring Prince Prince Elian's heart to the queen by the winter solstice. Meanwhile, said prince is the one who finds her stranded in the ocean. He is heir to the strongest human kingdom, but he prefers being on the ocean, where he kills sirens as his calling. So I've heard a lot of good things about this book. It's a standalone as well, which I like. I've been reading a lot more. I'm reading a lot of duologies and a few standalones, so I'm glad to have some standalones. It also seems like it's an actual enemies to romance, which I think will be interesting. I feel like a lot of things that say, oh, it's enemies to romance, isn't really enemies to romance. It's like mildly inconvenienced nuisance to lovers. So it'll be interesting that this seems like it's actually pretty legit enemies to lovers, like these two people kill each other's species kind of thing. So I am very curious on how they will reconcile their very obviously big differences. So looking forward to this one. Then we have got another Peter Beagle book, again recommended by my sister. This one is Summerlong. I felt pretty indifferent to the last one that I read, but my sister has told me that this one is kind of in a different style, and she's told me a little bit about the plot from when she was reading it, so fingers crossed that I will like this one more than I liked the Innkeeper song. So Summerlong is about a woman named Lioness. She is a waitress and a new arrival to the town of Puget Sound. She is like captivating, and with her she brings this like perfect spring and summer. She is taken in by this family of two lovers who are having problems, and their daughter has come to visit as well, and their daughter like is unlucky in love. But Lioness's presence encourages them to explore their deepest desires, their dreams, but of course she has her own secrets and her dark past that comes back to haunt her. From what my sister has told me, this is kind of like a Hades and Persephone story, which I love. I love Hades and Persephone. So I am hoping that this book will live up to my expectations. Speaking of retellings, next we have Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed, a gothic horror retelling of the Juniper Tree. Now, I have never read the original story, The Juniper Tree, so to me, I'm not entirely sure what that means, but maybe I should give that a read. Regardless, this one is about Marlinchen. She lives with her sisters and their like tyrannical father who refuses to allow them to leave their house, which, wild. They only interact with the public through tourists that come to see them because they are the last witches in Obaya. But at night the three sisters sneak out of the house to enjoy the city. Especially there's a new ballet house that has recently opened, and one of their dancers has captured Marlichen's interest. So while Marlichen tries to balance her like late night adventures and her father's rage, there is also a monster in the city of Oblaya, formed of like old magic and resentment. So Marlichen not only has to find her place in the world, she also has to draw upon her own magic to defeat it and like keep the city safe. Yes, a gothic horror. I love this genre so much. Honestly, I've been on a big horror kick since I got back into reading. I try not to overdo it because I know too much can get depressing, like between horrors and thrillers. I accidentally did that to myself back in January, but it always gets me excited to read a new one. And this one seems very interesting. I've read Ava Reed's Study in Drowning duology, and those are YA, but I really did love them. I think either one or both of them is still on my top 10 list this year so far, so it just barely, but they're still on there. So I'm very interested in seeing one of her adult novels. Speaking of horror, let's do another. A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers is next on my list. This book is about Dorothy Daniels. She is a food critic who loves both food and sex in equal measure. She has been all over the world to try both food and men. And she recounts her life from childhood to when she's the top of her career, and the first time she kills a man, when she finally lets herself be who she is inside. I've heard that this book involves cannibalism, which I guess you can see coming given the like food themes on top of everything else. I have heard some mixed reviews on the book, but it sounds very intriguing. So the horror train continues. And besides that, like, obviously, like, Stephen King and, like, well-known horror authors tend to get really high reviews on, like, Goodreads and stuff, but lesser-known horror books, not so much. So while I get the reasoning for the reviews, I don't always necessarily trust them with certain genres. But in any case, the horror train does come to an end with our next book. This one is very long awaited for me. It is Gold and Gossamer by Riley S. Quinn. This book released late last year, and since I was, at the time I was planning my reading for this year, I decided it would go well in the summer section. It's a book about fairies, so where else would it go? So after all this time, I will finally be getting this book and buying my copy. I followed Riley on TikTok for, I think, a few years now, before she had published the book, and I adore all the art and the animatics she does for it. Gold and Gossamer is about Dante. He is the Mage King of Avonbend. His throne is like balanced between the human and the fairy worlds, and he feels that the Fae Queen that rules the fairy world isn't like as bad as all the legends make her out to be. So when something happens and he needs a favor, he asks her for help. She rejects him because Fae, which makes him become super obsessed with like defeating her, and they form this rivalry. However, what the Fairy Queen has to tell him is not without merit, because his human allies are not exactly trustworthy, and fate has entwined them together. Like I've said, I've been very much looking forward to this book, so I am super ready to finally get my little hands on it. To wrap up this month's TBR, we have a book recommended by my grandma. It is The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. My grandma is a librarian, which I have talked about, I think, before on this channel, because I was basically raised in a library. But she doesn't often recommend books to me because we do tend to have different tastes in books, despite the fact that obviously we share our love of reading. I got it from her. I come by it honestly. Being surrounded by books my entire childhood, you know, helps with the love of reading, as one can imagine. But when she does like recommend books to me, I try them out. When I started this project, this like 100 books challenge project, when I asked her recommendations, this is what she gave me. So we're gonna try it. This is a historical fiction book set on the Korean island of Jeju, following two women from very different backgrounds as they both begin working in the island's all-women diving collective. And then over many decades, they form a strong bond, despite their background driving the bond to the breaking point. It sounds like a very interesting book. It's set in a real-life place with real-life influences. The characters are fiction, of course, but their surroundings aren't. And also the diving collective, like the all-women diving collective, is legitimately a thing. So I'm interested to learn more, and then of course to do more research on my own. I'm very much someone who likes to research things I get super interested in. I do it a lot for historical plays, we do it in my work, but then again, that being said, I really do it with like any play we do at work, but especially the historical ones. I do it a lot to Shakespeare plays, do it a lot to historical plays. If I'm super interested, I'll look into the specifics on how a play was written, just who I am. But yeah, so this book will be a good one to end the month of July with, I think. With that is my TBR for the month of July. And it seems like it's going to be an exciting one, so I hope you all will tune in for my reading vlogs, probably. I'm thinking about doing a 24-hour reading vlog, maybe if I can find the time, because I'll have to split it amongst 2 days. But I hope you guys will tune into that, and of course my wrap up at the end of the month. As always, thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!